basic knowledge. I mean, it's not very basic. Actually, it's starting from some. We need to going to introduce those um, subjects. First of all, it's basic input output, which to Java. Then how to read data from the read and write data from the console. Uh, I'm trying to expose that this is one of the kind of input. So far we understand, we used to do it. Then use it means stream actually kind of conversion between your usually used to be used the format to actually binary format, or from the binary format directly convert to your used to format as we um, saying or able to read or write, able to read or recognize. Then also one more things we needed to explain about serialization. Um, it is important because while you're sending the object, you cannot directly send it without serialization. So without serialization, you cannot send one object, for example, student object or university object, such kind of big object. You cannot able to send it because they after that they receive it. They can receive it, but after that they cannot they cannot construct it, convert it in original format. So that's the problem. That's the reason they will be used serialization. We also mentioned a little bit about it. So what is a basic about input output? It is kind of uh, terminology that specifying describing the input and output, working with the computer system. Sometimes uh, you needed to, I mean, your program needed to read from some source. What are the sources coming from the file? What are the sources coming from the console? What are the sources coming from the database or cloud? Doesn't matter. This all been considered as a input. And then also reverse process, that you can able to write some information from your perspective, from your web page, from your I don't know, maybe your in your application, you needed to request write something or change something to the file, to the database, to the cloud, or even you can delete it or something. You needed to send it information. So maybe this is less or more, doesn't matter. There's still you needed to some information flow to send it to destination. So it's kind of two distinguished process. One is a two distinguished process. One is a inverse to another. So it is being called input and output stream. By the way, it's why we talking about stream, because the format is in the binary format. They going to follow on between the. This is very natural. It's fundamental format. So at that, while using the binary format, there's no problem to working with the computer system. But the problem is how you can represent the information to the consumer, like a human doesn't understand the binary, so you have to convert them proper way. And then as I said, now I'm trying to saying that this is input. For example, the input uh, object should be not only the console, as we know, as we familiar with before, as well as also possible to file and directory. Even it should be possible to database in the other system, in the other machine. So it's always considering as a another destination, uh, as the between the process being called input output uh, process. So don't think about this as only kind of uh, one process that we know before in the right working with the console application. You needed to read from, you can write from, but even they can very it's so far we know that this is three kind of different kind of subject. Now let's start from the explain or introduce uh, some kind of three different kind of process, then as well as we need you to explain what kind of you know in class or library we can able to use it. Usually, while you're working with very um, working with the statement or sentence word, usually we will be use some kind of uh, class that we will be used. For example, in the character, it means definitely this very close relationship with the human. So while you new reader, it means you can able to at the time it is kind of very close to close interface with the user. But while using the input stream, the output stream, you can see that this is very close to working with the platform, I mean operating system. So this is kind of difference between the how they different in the same process with the different stage, have a different kind of we have to use different kind of terminology because they have a different interface they will be using. So let's start from the input stream. You know that maybe you don't know, but start from now. This is they has a one class name, an input stream. They has a read uh, BISC. There is a BISC method is read. I mean, as you know, this is input. It means you have to read, but it's. I mean, if you're using this one, it means completely you read the whole of the information from the destination. As I said, the destination should be his platform, file, or console. Doesn't matter. And then you also can able to specify some kind of a bunch of information, not from the so it means you can able to receive the information, not all of them, but part of them. Then also you can able to read from some kind of starting from some position, even how much length you can read. So it means you can able to more dynamic to read the from destination. So because maybe the file is too big, maybe you tend to emphasize the performance, so that's the reason you need to. So there is another kind of function that close, available, escape, the mark, reset. Those are just had to improve some kind of programming process. While, for example, what the close does is actually you need to open the file. I mean, open the file. It means something uh, you already taken the control of this file. So while you want to finish it, you have to close it. Otherwise, they will be still open to the resource. They consume the CPU and the memory. Then your resource will be beginning to decrease. So that's the reason you cannot open all the time. While you finished it, you have to close it. You know that that's the reason. Okay. And then in term the reverse processes output, you needed to interact from the you needed to give some kind of information to write to the destination. As I said, the destination probably not only the console. It should be a file, should be database, should be one of the program in the another machine. Doesn't matter. But we needed to highlight this very abstract way to you can write it. So what's the right is write this integer or write this one of the uh, bunch of uh, bunch of block of uh, byte of information. And then also even you can give a more specific length of you using the offset and length to write some block of information. Then of course they have a close because as I said, the roosters have to be, while you finish, you have to be close it. Yes. So let's say the example. That's very, very fun. I mean, very basic. For example, they defined one of the array. The type is byte. So it means you only can put this in byte type. So the length is 128. So it's not too much. And then the size b doesn't matter, blen. I mean, so after that, the file stream, what this does is they trying to accept two variable from the outside console, while you run win beginning to write this console. So they two information. One is probably the file name. Another is of course the file name. uh, Probably because this is destination, so that's there is an input, this is output. So maybe from they needed to read from one file, after that you need to do something, then write it in another file. So you can definitely you can do that, you can give the file name, doesn't matter. So it's kind of file input stream. As you said, the file input stream is definitely it's the file name. Then what is a argument as one is kind of another destination of speed, new file name. By the way, this is new file name. Then you can create this another file. So what this does is, here is say how much the size, available size you can read it from. Then what it does is input from this the length. If is -1, it means this already finished the reading. So as long as as long as not -1, they going to read. If it's smaller than the length, because they trying to they trying to the buffer size, limit the buffer size. So you have to considering the size, not out of the size. So what you does is, if not bigger than the size, they can able to write this b to, I mean, where is a b. B is actually, this one, right? From this one, start from 0 to read. I mean, whereas a read is, it's at first is 0, but after that, each time should be, they will be read something, then they will be going to write it. So this is a, otherwise they just write it here. So it is kind of two process, two different kind of situation you need to going to read and write. So here's a read it. While you read it this information, then going to write it. So if anything happens, some problem, they will be thrown exception. So that's the reason you are going to wrapper with between the try catch. So it is definitely the main ideas from the source code is you read some bunch of information from the one file to another file. That's the process that they're going to read it. There is another class being called the reader. I mean, as you said, this is this is kind of very close to work with the. I mean, we are a little bit abstract for the platform, but it is very useful to human being used it because they working with the character. Only difference is the first one is the. I mean, they using the byte, but this one is the character. So it is readers very can be work with the input stream, and then writers work with the output stream. So it is a nothing special, it's the same things, but the only difference is character. They use the character object. That's offset, the length, those are same. I mean, this is output, that's the input. And then they do use the same process, same, but they use the different kind of different class. Now file reader, they accept the input. The file writer, they accept the output file name. This is the input file name. For example, 1.txt, this is 2.txt, for example. I'm just saying that for example. Then it's no problem. Anyway, you what you want to give the name. So it is going to read it. After that, if you're successful to read it, then going to write it. This is with the length. So it is a they do the exactly same things but using the different class. So it's using file reader. This is a file writer, and then that one is a file input stream, file output stream. Now it is a chaining. There is a concept is chaining. What's chaining? It means, while you operating this process, actually they use the three different kind of process: data input stream, buffer input stream, and the file input stream. Why we do that? Uh, because in order to, one is a user friendly perspective. So while you working, while you typing in the front end, in the graph user interface, is not the binary. It is definitely character or number. So but the same time you need to consider how much you need to quickly process. They beginning to use the buffer. Then what does the input stream? They're very specific to the destination. So actually there's a three different kind of class working with the process, but we can able to chain them together with the more automatic handling process. We're going to use it. Let's say that this one. What does here is actually they use the buffer reader stream. I mean buffer, it means uh, the actually you cannot read this. You cannot read the file bigger than your memory size. So it means sometimes in order to do these things, first of all they read from the some data, read to load it to memory. Then after that you needed to transfer to handle this information to the destination. So that's basic idea. So what does here is, I mean, using the file reader to convert to buffer reader. I mean, so it means definitely if there is something out of the memory size, they will be thrown output. But if you can use, as you know, we can use this program before, for example, file reader. But the problem is if the file is bigger than memory size, definitely you cannot handle this problem. And now we have a no problem with that, because we can able to distinguishable the buffer size. You can set up the buffer size, then you can say, hey, we only can accept that amount of the buffer size. So this is buffer input. While you get this buffer input, then you can able to read or write the line, the one by, I mean, they provide a different kind of level of the functionality. For example, buffer give this read one line and one by one. So it is kind of sometimes it's better to handling if you want to do some kind of filtering or do changing, or it should be better way to read from one line by one line. Then after that you read it, then directly output the buffer. So it is kind of two file can be worked with together: file reader, buffer reader work with together, file writer, buffer writer work together. So it is very good example for this one. And then processing stream, as I said, there's three different kind of aspect. One is from this is buffering, then buffer reader, buffer input stream, and then filter. So sometimes the case that uh, you cannot accept all of them things. Sometimes you have to filter. After that, then you can categorize it. Then conversion, the byte format convert to character format. Definitely sometimes will be happen. It is a dependent situation. Serialization between your functionality perspective, between your platform perspective. You have to write it in the platform with the binary format. That that's the things we have to use. Serialization. So that's the things, the all the case Some case maybe you can tend to one class, some other case you tend to with other class. So definitely depend your case, you can able to choose different kind of class. Okay, so this is you can able to you know overview, I mean observe this what's how many and what is between the different kind of class functionality difference. This one is we very familiar with that. We very familiar with before because we already used it before. The scene, I mean system out, system in, and there is another thing is the system error. Sometimes they will be used very rare, but we know that this two one this actually directly working with standard input and output, with the monitor, with the console, right, with the keyboard, right. So directly keyboard as a input stream and the monitor as a output. Yeah, so that's the things we used it all the time. The example that, for example, you can do this, um, the console, I mean the system console, then you can read line one line, then there is some kind of example that you can use username, you can accept the username and password from the typing the console, then you can after that you can validate them. So yeah. Another writing standard output, we can use it of course another things that IO print stream, write stream, those are we can use it all the time. With the example, here's a input stream reader, I mean directly read from the console. So then they becoming the input stream, then put this in the buffer, and then what this does is after if you can able to read it, then you can output in the monitor. So it's also another kind of uh, things that we can able to say this information in the monitor, not they directly input this. Sometimes we need to do this way. Yeah, it's useful. Yeah, sometimes even we can do it some kind of connection. As I said, the channel. For example, this is the input file name. This is a get channel one. Then this is a channel file channel. So kind of connection. This is it's very abstract name. I mean, this is very useful, very similar with we did it before. So they can directly read from what how you did. There is no any kind of different kind of process they handling on, but it is already been connected together just like a one channel. Finally, we were going to explain the persistence, actually something you are going to keep this current status of the object, then you are going to keep this information while after that you can convert back. For example, you have to save this some current status, you just current information work step, you trying to start from the next time. For example, you are going to leave the office, then you have to save this information, but you want to start from the next day, then that way you can use the persistent. Maybe you can save for, you can able to save to file, you can able to save to database, so all is possible. The only thing is uh, you have to do serialization, otherwise you cannot do the things, it is not possible. And then there is a one very interesting case that, of course, we know that object has a relationship with another object. So one object relationship with another object, one instance has a depend on the another instance. For example, room, classroom, group has a list of student, then student has a individual, such I don't know, maybe university, then the It means one object instance depend on others. This is being called object graph. Then serializations can be serializable. So it means they can able to serialize this kind of things is also possible. But the things you have to, sometimes we are not going to serialize some aspect of uh, uh, information due to the concerning the performance, or uh, maybe not efficient, or maybe not necessary. So at that time you will be use a transient object, transient keyword to avoid that kind of process. So how we can do that? In order to serialize, you have to implement the serialization object, serialization interface, but also those are, and this base and stock is definitely they going to serialize, but the input file stream that one, then the total this one unnecessary. So that's the reason they give this the transient keyword to them, so they don't necessary uh, to calculated by the base and the stock, so no necessary to take this information during the conversion process. Of course, there is one thing that serial version ID. Due to the you have a provide many different kind of object. Maybe it's between the you have a different kind of customer, and while first customer used one object has a 10 attribute, then after that second customer going to increase this another 10. So how you can keep this uh, between this your program should be has one program have to be served to different clients. So how you can distinguish between the two different kind of object, even this is the same object but two different kind of version. So we have a use serial version ID to distinguish them. So that is another kind of technique. They will be going to use it. Example, that serialization example, for example, Profilo, they have a private stock. It's kind of collection set and many function they provided. So of course the stock is kind of combination. That this is kind of combination. So there is a transient object. Double current price is not been serialized, but the others double. Purchase price, share, what else? And then symbol. Those are definitely will be going to serializable. So what does here is, for example, I have a create this 1 2 3 4 no, three stock and one profile. This is kind of definitely has a graph object, because the profilo has the three object instance. So they create this profile. After that they create this one file. File input stream, then output another stream. So they read. They going to write about it. But the thing is that this is just only kind of one file write to another file. Hold on a second. Then what does here's another thing is that after that you read it. Be careful, right? You read this file. Then what is does here is you read this object. Then you can go into change. I mean, uh, I mean change objects convert to your own object, because p is this is output object, this is p is object. Actually include this three instance, three another object, so they already going to write it down. Of course we have to serialize the object, otherwise no way to write it. Then after that you have to, when you read it, they will be going to cascading to specific object type, otherwise it is not to So it is definitely to process. They just read it to file, then after the read again, write it to file, then read again from the file, convert to object, then the process they try to show us. So that's the process that serialization. I mean, that's only things that they do. You can able to demonstrate in the local, but definitely uh, they can able to use the destination should be another machine. So it is also possible to over the internet. So for the simplicity, now it is using the local file. Serialization method, that while you have to serialize the object, they use the write object. I mean, what it does here is object put stream, they write it here, so write object. I mean, there is another, they going to use this current data type, they are going to write it down. Then definitely later on you have to convert them same while you, I mean, that's the writing process being called the serialize, and then reading process being called deserialize, and that's we used to it all the time. The example is I mean, this is a stock, they definitely use the serialization, and then the one of them is not being serialized current price. Then they create this constructor, then I mean initialized object, and this is a read object is read from that, they set this prices. Actually they going to calculate this total prices, I think, set this stock prices. So I mean, this is all of the content, but I think it's very. I'm trying to cover those things. That what is first is input. First concept you have to know, the input output is possible to the destination, and the source is possible to file, network, database, um, another machine. It is possible. First thing you should know. Then also the process has a, in order to, I mean, concerning the usability and concerning the different case, you can use basically you can work with three different type of class. One is very close to working with the binary format, which is very specifically it's related to operating system. Another is in terms that because performance, your memory size have to be limitation of the processing. So it's buffer, input buffer, output buffer is the between the kind of the connection. And then finally is from the usability perspective, you have to use reader and writer something. So they definitely the 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 information type is character or number. So it's very useful to human to interact, but the input output stream and then writer stream is very close to a platform type of class, very useful to work with the destination, which is related to the operating system. Then finally they will be converted to binary, then binary will be naturally integrated with the system, no problem saving, no reading from them also. The final one is serialization. The concerning the serialization, because you have to keep the status from the current status, then reverse back after that sometimes you have to save this local file, or you can send it to one object to another. through the internet to another system, you have to serialize. So basically we covered the three different kind of topic. I hope you understand. Yes, please, if you have any question, please ask right now. You can ask right now.